Hi, I'm Rita Peterson with Everything Homemade, and we are going to make rhubarb sorbet today. This is very, very simple, and it is absolutely delicious. So let's dive right into it. What do you need for this dessert? First, you need 8 cups of rhubarb. So let's get 8 cups of rhubarb into a pot on the stove. I don't have the hot plate on right now. I will turn it on after. So you need 8 cups of rhubarb. You need 3/4 of a cup of sugar, and I'm using here organic cane sugar. You need 1.5 cups of water. And you need 2 teaspoons of delicious vanilla extract. Just like that. And then the very last ingredient is a pinch of salt, about 1/8 of a teaspoon. So, what do we need to do now? That is pretty simple, isn't it? So you put that all into your pot. And then we go to our stove here, we turn it on. I turn it on to high heat at first just to bring it up to a boil, then cut it down to a low. My stove here will be 2, depending on what you have, but turn it right down low till it simmers. So once it's simmering, 10-15 minutes until the rhubarb is soft. So let's just mix this in. So I just like to mix in the sugar and the rhubarb here a bit. Okay, and put the lid on it, and basically all I need to do now is wait for it to get to a boil, then turn it down to a simmer. So a couple of things here. This recipe is a base recipe, and what do I mean by that, you might ask yourself. A base recipe is the basic recipe without switching it up. So if you know this as your base, then you can switch up the recipe by changing a couple of ingredients to make the flavor a little bit different, but keeping the base measurements and the rhubarb the same. And I'm going to go through that right away because there's some really cool ideas and flavors that you can play with this. But remember to keep the proportions the same. So let's get this simmering. The recipe I will have the recipe on the channel, and if you don't know how to grow rhubarb, or you wonder how to harvest it or how to maybe freeze it, there will be a link right here on the video. Just click on it and I dive into detail on how to grow, harvest, and freeze rhubarb. So let's wait 10 minutes and I'll be right back here when it's nicely simmering and done. So let's talk about a few variations here as this starts to reach to a boil, and I'll turn it down to a simmer. So a couple of variations start with the liquid you use. So instead of just adding water, you can add orange juice. That is a natural sweetener too. It'll sweeten it up. Plus give it another depth of flavor. The other thing you can do is add coconut milk. Coconut milk really goes good with rhubarb. It's again another flavor, another dimension of flavor in it. I've done it too. It really is good. I would be careful if you're gonna use cream, because cream and rhubarb being acidic, you can get curdling happening. So I would more go to a non-dairy substitute in this case. Almond milk would be an awesome choice too. Again, another underneath layering of dimension in flavor, and that's what you really want. Is rhubarb really is a nice strong flavor, but bringing another flavor in like coconut or almond or orange, it just is so good, you guys. So couple ideas. Get your mind thinking on other liquids to add into this. Again, if you are adding in a orange juice, you might want to just keep it at 3/4 of a cup sugar, or decrease it again, maybe by 1/4 of a cup. The other thing that you can do is add orange zest in it. So just zesting an orange, simple as that. You can also zest a lemon. You can do a dash of lemon juice in here too. So there's a lot of things you can play with, but these are the proportions you want to stick. So if you want to add in orange juice, keep the amount of liquid the same. That's key. And I'm making enough for a Cuisinart 2-quart ice cream maker. So the amount of liquid that I want to put in is 6 cups in total. So that's really important to note there. So the mixture is now boiling, and I'm just gonna pop the lid off here, and it's gonna steam up my camera for a moment. I'm just gonna turn down the heat. I'm just gonna turn down the heat to about 2, and I'm just gonna take the lid off for a second there just to show you it's at a boil. I'm going to turn it down to a simmer, and then I'm going to put the lid back on. I just actually took the lid off just to show you, but normally I would have just left the lid on and then turned it down. So it's going to be in a nice strong simmer for 10 minutes, and this is where I'm going to put in 10 minutes in the timer. And you always want to cook this with the lid on. You want the liquid, you don't want the water to evaporate in this case. So in 10 minutes this will be done. And once it's done, you want to just take it off the hot plate and let it cool for about 10 minutes again before we blend it up. So this is all done. So what I did was we're gonna take it off the heat and then just let it cool off, and we are going to throw it into a blender and blend it smooth. So the next step in making this is taking your mixture and putting it into a blender. Now I'm using a Blendtec. You can basically use any kind of blender. This mixture is not hard to blend, and the biggest key here is to blend it 100% smooth, so there can't be any lumps at all, because you are making and putting it into an ice cream maker, so you don't want any lumps. So basically it's as simple as pouring your mixture into your blender. I'm just gonna go off to the side here. This pot doesn't pour really well into the blender, so I'm just going to scoop it into the blender here, and then I'm just going to pour the last little bit in, just so I don't spill it everywhere. There we go. And I'll just scrape the last little goodies out. Okay, so we're gonna blend it on medium-high setting. Okay, so I blend that for 30 seconds. And what I'm going to do now is, remember this measuring cup here? I used that for the rhubarb initially, and I'm just going to reuse it again. So take a look at that. Doesn't that look absolutely beautiful? And what I like about it is, because I am using red rhubarb, the color is fantastic, and when you put it into the ice cream maker, the red becomes a little bit darker. So it's a beautiful pink now. It'll just get a little more rich when it is frozen. So I'm going to scrape this out really good by using my spatula. I'm going to set the blender away for a moment. And the last thing that I like to do while this is warm is I like to taste test for the sweetness, because this is the chance that I can manipulate the sweetness. So if I need to add a little bit more sweetener, I can. Because it's warm, the sugar will dissolve a lot better. And so let's give it a little taste test. Oh man, the vanilla and the flavor of the rhubarb is just unbelievable together. And what's even better is when you take this mixture, I'm gonna put the lid on it, and you wanna put it in the fridge for a minimum of 12 hours or overnight. And you wanna put this in the ice cream maker the next day because you want the mixture 100% cooled before you put it in the ice cream maker, and the flavors will mingle overnight. I mean, you should taste this. The vanilla is just blends and it's just unbelievable, the flavor with this sorbet. So I'm actually going to take this out, we're gonna make it, and we're gonna have it for dessert for an early lunch tomorrow. Oh my goodness, that is so good. Oh, it's so good. This is the next day, and so the big two things we need to get ready is our mixture needs to come out of the fridge, and we need to put it into the ice cream maker. I'm going to turn it on. The insert is already frozen. I'm going to grab the mixture. Look at that. And I'm just going to pour it in. About 25 minutes. So there you guys have it. Beautiful sorbet, absolutely beautiful rhubarb sorbet. Tastes delicious, holds together great. This is a wonderful recipe and a wonderful dessert that everyone is going to love. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.
Why giggling? Smile, you're on candid camera.
No.